Previously, I ranked positive traits, I ranked negative traits, I ranked professions in Project Zomboid, and today we rank all the melee weapons. When I say all, some of them I kind of grouped up because we have a lot of weapons, like I think over 40 now over here, and we're gonna go through them. So let's go, let's start with axes. First on the list, we have your good old fireman's axe, just a normal axe that is very decent, but hear me out. Why would I not put this into like top of the top of weapons? First things, because this axe can be used in many other ways, like some of the weapons can't be. That's why I don't want to put it high as a weapon, because I personally started saving these axes and not actually using them in combat. I used to save them to chop down trees and do all that kind of stuff, you know, that you need to do for work, and not actually use them as a weapon. So still a great weapon, but since they have other use, I would put this axe into A tier. It's great, but since it has other uses, I wouldn't call it an S tier weapon. Next we have a hand axe, basically a shorter version of the same axe. You can also chop trees with it, but it's not as efficient. Now, these are great for leveling up your axe skill in combat. Then you can use the bigger and better axe if you know, once you get higher combat skills and, you know, slay with this one easily. That being said, it's still a worse version of the actual axe, so this one goes into B tier. Onwards to glory with axes. Next, we have a pickaxe. Now this one, if you're lucky to actually find it, it's an absolute killer. It's better than this axe. Sure, it's decently heavy, but I believe it's the same weight as a normal axe. Deals more damage, better crit and all that stuff. This one, and you can't use it to chop down trees, right? So, in my opinion, a pickaxe is an S tier weapon. Right there, boys. If you get it, you will have a lot of fun with this one, just slaying zombies. Once you start swinging and once you get some skill in axes, the boys are gonna start dropping. Next on the list, we have a good old stone axe that you can make yourself. We all know this thing breaks like instantly. Not instantly, like even if you chop down trees early on when you first make your first axe with no like actual skills and maintenance and all that stuff, you will break it before you chop down one tree. You will also break it after fighting a couple of zombies. In my opinion, this is an F tier weapon. I know, it actually deals some damage, yes, but we are looking at durability over here. If you can only use it for a very short amount of time, then it's not really very useful. Next on the list, the last of the axes over here, we have a good old wood axe. This one deals plenty of damage, but the swing is very slow. It's a heavier axe, swing is slow. Even though the higher the damage is higher, the slow swing is not gonna allow you to control hordes. So I believe this one is much better used to chop down trees and not at all to use in fighting. So I would put this axe into C tier. Look at that, how nice. I actually didn't think of this before I started the trait list, but look at that, we have an axe in each of the tiers. You'll love to see it. Next we go to the long blunt weapons. Now you can see over here there's a guitar. Into this one I merged all the different various guitars you can find because I didn't want to have different icons. But in general, F tier. This one, why is an F tier? It deals some damage, sure, it's gonna break in an instant. Guitar, not a weapon you want to use, it's like our last resort weapon. If you don't have anything else, you pick this one up so you can smack some zombies and that's it. F tier, that's where it belongs. Next, we have a barbell. There's also a short blunt version, a dumbbell of this. In general, heavy weapon, slow swing. It's not gonna break as easily, but it's too slow to use effectively. But since it's not really gonna break, actually, it's an F tier weapon as well. It's not something you should be using a lot, and you know, use it for something else, like drop it in your foot or something like that and break it so you don't need to go to school or something. I don't know. You know, you find out. Next on the list is the good old baseball bat. This is the This is the thing that everybody thinks when it comes to zombie apocalypse. Well, before The Walking Dead, when Michonne came in with a katana. But before that, everybody's like, yeah, baseball bat, let's smash some brains. And you know what? It is a great one. It's a great weapon to have, and you can fix it, you can repair it for a while, and you know, you can later on add nails if you want to, but that one we're gonna look at later. All in all, great weapon, but I don't think it's S tier. I think it's a good old solid A tier weapon. I love using baseball bat. With some mods you can add like screws and barbed wire to it, which Barbara wires is still one of my favorite weapons. You know, nostalgia from one of my older series, but I'll put it into A tier. Great weapon. It's very solid. Next we have a broom. Like in this broom section we have a couple other, you know, household weapons that you're not really gonna use, and we all know this thing is not gonna do much damage, and it's gonna break soon, it's gonna break fast, you really shouldn't use it, and it belongs into the F tier. Just don't use it. Just don't use it. And next, we get to my favorite weapon, or let's say one of my favorite weapons. The good old crowbar. Crowbar's got durability for ages. They deal decent damage, very important. They're a blunt weapon, so if you wanna steal zombie's jacket, you're not gonna damage the jacket if you hit them with a crowbar. I think crowbars, and you can you find a decent amount of them. They're all over the place, and they're a great, reliable weapon. For me, crowbar is easy S tier. It's where it belongs, and you know, one of my favorites out there. And then we go to a fishing pole. Yes. Not really a weapon, it's kind of last resort weapon, so it should belong down here in the F tier. Use it to fish, do not use it to shit on zombies, it's really not worth it. Next we have a golf club. This bad boy actually has a decent reach. He actually has a decent reach with this one, and you can swing it pretty fast. Unfortunately, it is gonna break pretty fast, so it's not one of those that you're gonna be using for long. It's one of those that, you know, you find out there while you're searching for better weapons, and you use it for a bit, but then it just shits itself and it's no longer good. So C tier over there, but decent otherwise. Onwards to glory, we have a plank. If you plan on playing as a long blunt guy, sure, plank can be one of those that, you know, when zombies broke down some doors, you found a plank and you can fight them off with it. It's a decent one, but it is better if you use it to make, let's say, a spear out of it, right? Or even a spiked plank, which is still not very good, but I still think this one goes into C tier, and it's better used to if you make something else out of it. But otherwise, it's a decent weapon. It's gonna break very fast though. Onwards to glory, we have a shovel. So shovels, I accidentally have shovel and a snow shovel over here, which are basically identical. You know, I forgot that I already had a shovel, so I didn't add a snow shovel. So these two will rank both at the same time. Good melee weapon, good blunt weapon. You know, you can use it to dig graves as well. I don't think it's as good as a baseball bat or a crowbar. So I think these two bad boys should be somewhere in the middle of the tier. B tier, it's where they can be and they can enjoy their life. Sitting in the middle, you know, it's a decent weapon, it's not great, it's not terrible. But you know what is terrible? If you use a sledgehammer as a weapon, like one of my friends did in the multiplayer, on the multiplayer server we were all playing together, and we went to raid a hospital and he brought that as a weapon. And then he was mad that we forgot him there. Anyway, sledgehammer, we all know it's a holy grail of weapons that if you will, or not weapons, of tools. If you find it, you're gonna be good, you're gonna be set. Don't use it as a weapon. Even though actually it doesn't lose durability fast, but it's extremely low swing and you're not gonna do much damage. So this F tier, it's where it is. Onwards to glory, we have a spiked bat. Now, spiked bat, it deals a bit more damage, I believe, than the normal bat, right? But we have to remember, this bad boy will tear up clothing. So if you're trying to get something off of a zombie, right? Let's say a jacket or maybe, I don't know, a police vest or something like that that's gonna protect you, this thing is gonna damage it, right? And of course, you put some nails into it. This is like it's up there with the baseball bat. For me personally, while I do love using it because it's a bit more damage, I think it's balanced in such a way that it's just like a smidget below the normal bat. Still, even though it in general it's got nails and it's cool, but it's there. Of course, the one with barbed wires. Oh, dude, that barbed wires is the best bat. That's how it is. Anyway, let's go onwards to glory. We have a plank with nails, a spiked plank. It's still gonna lose durability extremely fast. You're gonna do a bit more damage, but it's just above the normal plank, so not very useful, not very good. Now we go to the short blunt, and the first one is one of the many hammers you can find. It's a club hammer. I don't know why this hammer went clubbing, but it's how it did. It's fine if it did. Now, hammers I actually do like. Now, club hammer is actually slightly worse than the normal hammer. Than the normal hammer. So we're gonna put it into like a low B tier. But since hammers are actually, you know what? No, we're gonna put it into C tier, into high C tier, because we're gonna later on rank the hammer a bit higher than that. Hammers are, you can find them pretty much everywhere. So if you're using a hammer, it's better to use a normal hammer than the club hammer. Next, we have the pan. So this is a frying pan. You have like griddle pans and all kinds of saucepans and all that stuff you can all use. We all know this is a weapon that you'll probably use for the first, I don't know, 15 minutes of a game where you're looting your starting house, and this is the weapon you find because there's nothing else. But later in the game, you're not really going to use them. You know what? For a starting weapon, this actually isn't the worst. It's actually not the worst weapon. It's above these ones, I would say. I'm going to put it into C tier, right? Actually, I should probably move this one a bit higher, but there you go. This one is going to go into C tier. It's out there with the planks, I think, but not much better. And we finally go back to the hammer, which I did earlier say that it's a good weapon. I don't use it as a weapon that often because I usually have one on my belt, and that's the one that I use for construction, all that stuff. Because I usually use either guns or I use long blunt. If I use a other short blunt, I would maybe use a nightstick because I actually really like a nightstick. In any case, hammer, it's a very decent. You'll find it everywhere. It's a very solid B tier. For some people, it might be like if you're playing just a short blunt, might even be higher because they're common, but I would, if I were to play short blunt, I would prefer the next options over here. So first we have a lead pipe. Lead pipe, of course, goes on your back, and it's a short blunt weapon that doesn't have that big of a reach, but it has a decent reach, and it deals solid damage. It's a lead pipe. You'll find it everywhere, especially like if you go to Louisville, zombies will be breaking down those fence gates all around. And there's always going to be some of that, like in barricades and all that stuff. You can find these aplenty, and it's actually like a really solid weapon. Like I really like using these. Sure, if I would find a baseball bat, which is of course harder to find, these ones are great because they're very easy to find. So I'll put the lead pipe into low A tier over here. Low A tier. Below these, low A tier right there. I really like that weapon. It just works very well. Next we have a metal bar and the metal pipe. Just put them all together over here because they are pretty much identical. Again, weapons that you can find all over the place. They are slightly worse than the lead pipe, I believe. Slightly worse, but it's really in that regard that you wouldn't use it. But again, weapons that you can find all over the place and you can just use them easily. Now, of course, they do weigh a bit, so, that's going to be a problem. But you know what? Maybe let's put it into like high B so we don't, because this one is, lead pipe is low A, this one is high B. So it's almost the same, but, let's spread them around a bit. Now, onwards to glory, we go to pretty much my favorite short blunt. I know not a lot of people like using nightstick, right? But I like it because it goes in your belt, while lead pipe and the metal bars go on your back. which can be a problem if you try to hold a shotgun with you or something like that. But then as a secondary, you want to use a short blunt, which I do a lot of times, right? That's usually how I roll around. Shotgun on the back, short blunt on my belt. One of those would be probably a hammer because it can be used for other stuff. And the other one, if I can, I would use a nightstick because I think it's a really good weapon. Unfortunately, you can't repair it, I believe. That is its biggest downfall. So, while it is my favorite one, I still think it's slightly below a lead pipe, but still above the metal bar, maybe. It's like in between. Again, very, very high B tier nightstick. I like it. I'm not sure how many people like it as much as I do, but let's put it out there in B. It's a really, really solid weapon. Next, we have a pipe wrench. Another one of those that I do like using a lot. It's gonna be on my belt. If I don't have, let's say, a hammer, if I don't have a nightstick, pipe wrench is probably gonna be one of those that I will have there because they're easy to find. And importantly, unlike wrenches, you don't really need to use them for tools as much as you would otherwise a wrench that you can use, to fix your car. Pipe wrench you only need for the one thing, to fix your sink, which you'll probably do once or twice, and that's about it. I will still put it below the hammer, but it's very solid B tier choice over there. Next, we have some lesser blunt weapons. A plunger. I included this one because it's a plunger. You gotta include it. Long story short, just don't use it. It's F tier. It's gonna break soon. Fun fact: when we were doing our battle royale between different YouTubers that Ambiguous Amphibian organized, me and Shogun were together, and when we were trying to find some weapons, Shogun found a plunger. So, guess why we didn't win? Okay, let's ignore all of that and let's go onwards to rolling pin. Rolling pin, again, one of those that you'll probably find early on, just like all the pants and all that stuff. It goes on your back, you smack things with it. It's decent. It's, in my opinion, slightly worse than the frying pan, but it's, low C tier, of course. You're not gonna use it at any point in long term, so it's down there. Next, we have a weapon that it's easy to make because it's a stone hammer. All you need is a stick, a stone, and some rags, and you are gold. But then again, durability, same as with this one, goes down much faster. Now, I will actually put it above this one, above the stone axe, and that's for two reasons. Stone axe you can actually use to chop down trees, so you really shouldn't use it for combat because it can be used for that. Not that it's good for any of the other, right? Not even chopping trees. And stone axe is harder to make because it's harder to find the now I can't remember the sharpened stone. You know the idea. So I think this one is still better because for this one, for the stone hammer, you just need a normal stone. It's still not good though, so it's, I don't know, somewhere in the C tier, maybe above the planks though, like middle of the C tier. Not a great weapon, but it's, there if you want to. Now then we have a wooden mallet. Wooden mallet, again, just another hammer that deals a bit less damage. It's, it's made of wood. It's probably better than the stone hammer because it's, you don't need to make it, and it loses durability a bit slower, but it's still not that amazing of a weapon. So there it goes. And the last on the blunt list, we have the wrench. Again, pipe wrench here is better because pipe wrench, you don't need to use it for tools as much as a wrench you do. And wrench is also shorter than the pipe wrench, so don't use it as a weapon, really don't. If you have to, it's a C tier weapon. It's not above that, probably below the hammers, I would say. Maybe even below the planks. Just don't use it. The good thing is they're pretty abundant, so you can usually find plenty of them if you really want to use them as weapons. But when it comes to short blunt, there's so many better options than normal hammers. You can find them everywhere, so they're much better than that. So this is not very good C tier. Okay, then we get to the fan favorites, the long blades, the two long blades that exist, the Holy Grail, katana. Yes, we all know it's amazing, and we all are extremely happy when we see it. And we're all extremely sad when it breaks and realize you cannot fix it yourself. So, Katana, yes, it's an S tier weapon. 100% it's an S tier weapon. Probably the S tier weapon. It's just so good. Unfortunately, you can't fix it. Unfortunately, it's extremely rare, so there's a big probability that you won't even see it in your playthrough. But if you do, it's gonna be a game changer, basically. That's how it is. And then its little brother, Machete, which deals also really, really good damage. It's also hard to find. You won't find these very often, but when you do, you're gonna be once again happy because they are good. They are very good. If you have a katana as well, you can use the machete maybe to train the long blade and then use katanas to even, to be even better at this. But I do think machete is also an S tier weapon if you get to find it. It's got a bit shorter range, but it's also pretty light. You can use it to slay zombies with ease. So I think, in my opinion, this is also an S tier blade. Now, we go onwards to glory, to short blades. And first we have a fork or a spoon, in that regard. This is shit. This is like the absolute of the F trades. This is the weapon that you should not use. It is better to use your bare hands. You're gonna do much better. Like with each hit, this thing is gonna lose durability. It's not gonna do any damage. It's gonna break. And yeah, not useful. Do not use a fork or a spoon or anything like that. It's just garbage. Next on the list, we have a short hand sight. This one does not have the stabby animation. It has a normal swing animation, so you can put it in the long blunt for its reach. But of course, it has the cut and damage, so it will cut anything up. So if you are trying to preserve any gear, it's not very good. But none of the stabby ones are for that. But then again, it also doesn't do that much damage, and the reach is very, very short. So I think when it comes to that, this is a C tier weapon. It's down here somewhere in C tier. It's not really amazing. Even though it looks very cool, it's still a C tier. Next, we have the best of the short knives. We have the hunting knife. We're all happy when we find this one. It can be used as a tool. I actually prefer using it as a tool because, you need to, sharpen your spear and use a spear or something like that with it. And it's great. And there's a good chance you'll be finding plenty. If you're going for the short blade playthrough, then this is gonna be your boy, right? But I would still rank it below the hammer, the hand axe, the metal pipe, and these, but above pipe wrench and all that stuff. I'm not that big on short blades, especially in build 41. They're not as good as they used to be. Like before, in build 40 and before, you could just one-shot every zombie with this if you position yourself correctly. You can't do that as regularly anymore, so I'd say B tier for this bad boy. Next, we have a kitchen knife, or there's a couple varieties of these kitchen knives. It's, once again, not very good. If you are very good at being good at short blades, then you might actually put it to some good use, but it's gonna break pretty fast as well. For me, this is like an F tier trade. It's definitely better than a fork though. If you really want to use a weapon, I'd say this is an F tier, and it should stay there. Next on the list, we have another swingy weapon when it comes to short blades, and this is the meat cleaver. You'll be able to find these. I actually like meat cleavers. They're better than hand sights. They are probably, I would actually, you know what? I'm actually gonna put this one into low B. It chops up the equipment, sure, but it's not always that you would want equipment. It's pretty light, it's pretty easy to use. It's got very short range, which can be a problem. So zombies will definitely get close to you. But it deals decent damage. It definitely deals decent damage. So it's out here. Next on the list, we have the scissors. What do we say to scissors? We say don't run with them around, and also not today. Don't use these as weapon. Use these to, get some leather scraps to fix your equipment. So this is an F tier weapon. It's how it is. Onwards to glory, we have a screwdriver. Screwdriver you can use as same as any of these knives to stab stuff and hopefully get a one-hit kill. I do not think it does as much damage as some of the other knives. But screwdrivers, you'll be finding a lot of them if you really want to use them as weapons. Probably you shouldn't, and you can of course use screwdrivers as other tools. So I think screwdriver is like somewhere out here in the C tier. Really don't use it as a weapon, but as a tool, of course, it's a very useful one. And then we go to a smash bottle. This is one of those last resort weapons. Just don't use it. It's probably better to just push zombies back and then stomp on them than use a smash bottle. But you know, maybe if you drink with your friends, then you can use that. Next, we have the stone knives. Stone knives were very, very good at some point because they deal pretty decent damage, and it was very easy to get to make them with foraging. It's kind of harder to do that now unless you have very high foraging based on how foraging works these days. So you can't get as many of them as easily of them. Yeah, doesn't know what I'm saying anymore. Don't worry about it. But they're not that amazing. You can see the trend over here. I'm not that big on stabby short blades. But if you're using it, if you're good at being nimble, you can just kite back and just keep on stabbing. You're not gonna get as tired as swinging like a heavier thing. So it's a decent weapon, and you know, if you get lucky, you can make plenty of them. But it's still out here somewhere in the middle of the C tier. Not very amazing. Now the last weapons, we have the spears. So the first one is the garden fork. Fortunately, kind of hard to find, but if you do find it, this thing is an actual killer because it has good durability. So it's a spear weapon, but we all know spears break like this. But this one actually has a good durability even when you're low at being good at spears. So I will actually rank this as the lowest of the S tier traits, because spears are actually pretty good. You can get those one-shot kills easily, and this one is going to be with you for a long time. So in my opinion, if you actually find it, it's actually not easy to find it. I've played quite a lot of hours recently, and I've seen maybe one. It's really not easy to find it. They're not around that much, but it's actually very easy to use. You can get some good killing with it, and it doesn't break as much, you know? Spears are actually pretty good, and this is the normal crafted spear. I would actually put it high because it's so easy to make. You can make it branches, or you can make it out of planks. You can make it out of anything, really. Well, not anything, but you get the idea. They're easy to make. Unfortunately, with your low skill first at the start, they'll be breaking fast, but you can hold zombies far away from you while swinging, and eventually you'll kill them. You just need to have a lot of them. That's why I can't put this one into very high tier, but I will put the spears into like very solid B tier, because I think they are a sleeper weapon that a lot of people sleep on it, but they're actually very good. Okay, so you can attach a lot of things to spears, right? I only took like 2 out of here because I don't feel like need to, you know, kitchen knife and scissors or whatever you can attach. So this one is the hunting knife. I would say once you're really good at spears, you know, you rank up and you have good carpentry to make good spears, this actually becomes really solid weapon. But until then, it's not quite there yet, and I'd rather use a normal spear and save the knife for something better. So I will put this bad boy below. I will put this bad boy into B tier, right? Like lower B tier. The last on the list over here, we have once again a spear, this time with a machete. What did they say about a machete? It's great in the S tier. This, definitely a decent weapon, but I think it's much better to use the machete by itself and not attach it to a spear. So I'm actually gonna put this one, while it's in itself it's a great weapon, it can be used much better in different circumstances. So I'm gonna put this one into C tier and just use the machete by itself. I think it's gonna be better for everybody involved. And that is the tier list. We have ranked everything. You'll probably hate on me for doing some of these, but definitely let me know down in comments, what do you think, which should be up and which should be low, and how many mistakes I've just made.